we go. It's yours.
Thank you. So our title this week is interesting. It's God. And so I looked a lot for quotations, and I guess basically not only are all of us living sentient beings God, but the circumstances that we live in are God. So this is from Science of Mind. And it refers to prayer, but I think the main thing is that everything, no matter the appearance or our judgment of the appearance, is God. Ernest Holmes writes, "Let us remember that prayer is answered according to law, and this law is one of liberty and never one of license. True liberty comes only through true harmony. True harmony comes through true unity, and true unity can come only through the conscious realization that we are all one, one with God or good, one with the all in all."
You are the light of love. I am the light of love. You are the light, I am the light. We are the light of love.
And so now I bring our attention to our center, to that point within us, which is the all in all. We call it God, we call it spirit, we call it love. And I ask that we remember that everything and everyone is made of that God, that love, that oneness. So that with each experience that we have, we can look for and find God at the center. We know that this is easy to do when the experience seems good, when it seems the answer, the positive answer to a prayer. But the truth is that even in the center of chaos, in the center of pain, in the center of seeming evil, there is God wanting to express, wanting to heal, wanting to bring forth the best for everyone concerned. And so as we look at one another, we see the reflection of God. And as we view the life that we live, the world around us, and everyone in it, if we can try, we can make the effort, if we can have the intention to find God there, then yes, this too is God. And it is good and very good. It is for us. It loves us. And it is the love that we are. And so it is. Amen.
You are the light of love. I am the light of love. You are the light. I am the light. We are the light of love.
Thank you, Pamela and Jackson. As Pamela said, the talk title is This Too is God, and she sort of did the beginning of my talk. in talking with other ministers and talking with friends and various people in the classes I'm taking, etc., there's so many taboo topics that so many people do not want to approach. Some of those are the things that we see, war and racism and how could people have so much money and not be doing anything with it, and there's all kinds of taboo topics we feel. And yet, if it's true that all there is God, then all of that is God too. So no matter what the political affiliation, no matter what our social or cultural experiences, our religious or spiritual paths, everything, absolutely everything is God. And I think that if we were to really get that at a deep level, things would change. Things would definitely change. It reminds me of when I was in the Honolulu church studying for, I think I was studying for practitioner then, but I was the head of the Sunday school for a few years. And I remember we went on a walk. We met in an open air building called the Junior Achievement Building, and there wasn't much room for Sunday school class to get a lesson without disturbing everybody else. And so this time we went for a walk. And so I asked the children, show me what isn't God. Let's go for a walk and show me what is not God. And I remember they pointed to all kinds of things, and then we would talk about it. And I think the funniest thing for me was when a little boy pointed to some dog poop on somebody's lawn and said, well, that's not God. And I had to say, well, the truth is, everything is God. So when we're looking at these principles that we've been studying and that we will continue studying for the rest of our lives, sometimes in our ignorance, let's say, of our true nature, we misuse the law and we bring about suffering in our lives. And so as spiritual beings, spiritual individuals, we strive to heal suffering by remembering our true nature. We want to remember to allow Spirit to work through us as us, and that this power that we're always talking about, that power that Dr. Holmes said, there's a power for good in the universe and you can use it, that power is within us and working through us. And as we allow ourselves to conceive of a greater good and remove all unbelief, begin to start trusting that, life begins to work even better for us. So in the Science of Mind, they say, but I have to move these pictures here. The Science of Mind teaches that our true nature is divine, and our intelligence is universal mind, which functions at the level of our concept of it. We are made of pure spirit, and each of us has within our own nature the seed of perfection. Now this first statement is really important. The fact that universal mind functions at the level of our concept of it. So the more we study these principles, the more we allow ourselves to focus on the divine, focus on universal mind, the more we become aware of how powerful, omnipotent, omniscient, as we realize these things about this universal mind, again, it works even better for us than it has before. Because that's the only way it can work, is at the level of our concept of it. So if you have a little God, then you're going to get a little good. If you have a big God, you're going to get even more good than you could possibly ever imagine. So Dr. Holmes teaches us that we dwell in the oneness of God, even when appearances suggest an absence of the divine. We can't gloss over the issues in the world and hide behind platitudes until the storms pass. But we can apply the teachings of Ernest Holmes, among others, to find out what's ours to do. So, using the principles of oneness, we allow the uncomfortable topics to help us deepen our spiritual practices, grow our compassion, and then take divinely inspired action in the world. That idea of oneness is so important for us to embody. We're raised with the idea that there's them and there's us. And the truth is, there's only the one. This idea that's on this picture has come to me about 4 times this week. And then I found this picture last night and I thought, wow, there is something here that really needs to be paid attention to. It says, you live most of your life inside your head. Make sure it's a nice place to be. It made me think once again, I've been watching the old Star Trek series, and it made me remember once again the holodeck. If those of you who've watched Star Trek know that the holodeck, you stand outside in the hallway and you put in your program, enter the numbers of your program, and then the doors open and you're someplace else. You're in a forest, you're in Paris, you're in a bar, wherever it is that your program is. And that program allows the people who go into the holodeck to walk. They can hike up Mount Everest if they want. They can do all kinds of things. They can move about, and the program changes to fit their idea of what that program should be like. And this is the way life works inside our head, is that we're running our own holodeck, however you say it, all the time. So we really want to make sure that it's a nice place to live, wouldn't you say? So I have 3 ideas for you here. The first one is, don't place any limits on the divine. Holmes says in The Science Mind, our belief sets the limit to our demonstration of a principle which, of itself, is without limit. It is ready to, to fill everything because it is infinite. It is entirely a question of our own receptivity. I wonder how many of us have limits on the divine. Now, here's a simple first world situation that I have been working with lately. My car lease is up on Monday, and I have been looking at a new car to lease. And I fell in love with the Hyundai Ioniq Hybrid. And I fell in love with this one particular one that is what they call intense blue. And this intense blue is sort of a purple blue. Well, the one that I had my heart set on is no longer on the lot. It got sold. So the salesman I'm working with is continually looking for it at another dealer and to have it brought in. Well, I find myself thinking, well, maybe I don't need that blue color. Maybe I should just go for the white one that's in the lot. And then I'm thinking, but wait a minute, I don't want a white car. I want the blue car. Well, maybe I better just go for the white one. I have found myself going back and forth, and I realized as I was writing this talk out this week was that I'm placing limits on the divine. I'm saying, well, I'd really like to have that blue car, but maybe the divine, the universe isn't powerful enough to bring that blue car to me. Maybe I have to settle for the white one. Now, I didn't want a white or a gray or a black car, because you go into any parking lot, everybody's got a white or a gray or black car. I wanted something unusual, just like I got with the SUV that I'm driving now. Well, yesterday, the salesman calls me up and he said, there's two out there, but I cannot get either one of those dealers to call me back. And I said, well, what do I do on Monday when I'm supposed to return my car? And he says, oh, just call Hyundai and ask for a week's extra on your lease. And I thought, oh, okay. So the universe must be doing, I went into this whole thing about, wow, I'm making him do so much work about trying to find this car. And again, I had to look, I'm setting limits to a demonstration where I'm trying, of this principle. And so what I realized once again is I'm going to manifest the infinite to the degree that I'm aligned with it. So I have to, again, align myself with this. And is that the divine a infinite blue Hyundai Ionic? Well, yes, everything is the divine. So I know that using treatment, using affirmations, using meditation, being really grateful, all of those spiritual practices are expanding my consciousness so that I could bring more light into my life, more gratitude into my life. And as I bring it into my life, I bring it into the universe. I bring it into life itself. People catch it, right? Haven't you felt when you're feeling really grateful for something that everybody around you is suddenly really grateful about stuff? It just feels so good. So I realized that then, as we begin to see ourselves from the truth of our being, and that T is a capital T for truth, as we begin to see ourselves from the truth of our being, we experience an inner life that is bigger, that's more real than our external circumstances. Therefore, our external circumstances must accommodate our mental equivalent. My mental equivalent obviously has been about not being able to have what I want. Perhaps it's even been not deserving what I want. So the next idea then is to face the fear. So when we're looking at the things that are happening in our world, it can get pretty fearful. Dr. Holmes says in The Science of Mind, we will not refuse to help the helpless or lift up the fallen, but we will refuse to wallow in the mud because of our sympathies. So when we're looking at the things that are happening in the world, the violence that seems to be getting worse and worse at the moment, one of the things I read in this statement is that we're not supposed to be mesmerized by the form of what's happening out there, appearances. Don't get mesmerized by appearances. And in this fear place, we tend to avoid conversations with people about racism and war and all the different things that are happening in our world. In fact, I know for myself that before I started doing these classes on diversity, one of my phrases was, I don't see color. And I had no idea that what that meant to people of color was that I didn't see them. And I've often said, oh, let's don't talk politics. And then I got really into it and started talking about it a lot. But when I was talking about it, I was talking about it from a fear-based place. And so I've had to face those fears. And I had to address those issues in my own consciousness. I'll tell you, the class I'm taking for ministers on diversity is not a comfortable class to take. But I want to better myself continually. I want to know that principle works all the time, regardless of what's happening out there. And my use of the law, my treating for unity, my treating for peace, my treating for health and for prosperity and all these things for everyone can change the form that's happening. it's like we have to name what's going on. We have to acknowledge what's going on and then know the truth and invest more of our energy in our prayer work, meditation, etc., in the truth than in the appearance. So I have to say, yes, there's racism happening, and yes, there's some of it in me because of how I've been raised, etc. But I don't have to stay there. I can know the truth that absolutely everything, everyone, every experience that's happening, it's all God. There's nothing but God. I can remember Dr. Michael Beckwith saying one time, a long time ago, that watching the news is really good for practitioners because it's a call for prayer. A call for prayer. My third idea is that your higher consciousness benefits the world. So in this interconnected universe, this is from Stephen Hawking's in Power versus Force. In this interconnected universe, every improvement we make in our private world improves the world at large for everyone. Simple kindness to oneself and all that lives is the most transformational force of all. Simple kindness to oneself. If I'm kind to myself, then that radiation of kindness energy is going to go out and touch other people. And they're going to be kind to me because I'm attracting that. And then they're going to start being more kind to themselves, and their kindness is going to attract other people to them. And it's going to be like that rock that we've talked about before, thrown into a pond that ripples out throughout the whole pond. In fact, it comes up, the ripples come up to the shore and then ripple back to where that rock went in. So being kind to oneself, which means thinking about what we're thinking about, really paying attention to how we're calibrating, using Hawking's words. He says he calibrated human consciousness from its lowest vibration, which he considers to be shame, to its highest, which he considers to be enlightenment. He says higher consciousness radiates a beneficial and healing effect on the world. And using kinesthetic testing, he created a chart to explain in detail what the mystics have always known, that love is more powerful than hatred, and the truth sets us free. As an example, one individual has raised her consciousness calibration to 500, which is love, counterbalances 750,000 individuals who calibrate below 200, which is the lowest positive calibration on his chart. So as we increase our integrity, our understanding, and our capacity for compassion, we change the world. I mean, just think about that. What a great reason to do our inner work. To know that as we change ourselves, we change the world. So I want to remind us that we're not human beings having a spiritual experience. We are spiritual beings having a human experience. This means that even though we might think that God is out there somewhere, the truth of us is that God, that energy that we call God, is within us. We can't get away from it. It is us. And it reacts according to the framework or the program that we give to it. So our job, so to speak, as people that are studying the science of mind, is to pay attention to our thoughts, our feelings, and our words, both the words that we're speaking to ourselves and the words that we're speaking to others. The truth is, we dwell in the oneness of God, even when appearances suggest an absence of the divine. I know that one of the most popular questions in a foundational class is, well, if all of this is true, how do you explain Hitler? How do you explain the wrongs that we're looking out there seeing? Again, it's all in our minds. We have to change our thinking and change our lives. Change our thinking and change our lives. So let's say this affirmation together, and then we'll go into treatment. And Michelle has written them for this month, so we thank her for that. Remembering that all is God, I know that despite appearances, Spirit shows up for me in each and every moment. And let's go into prayer. Gratefully, I acknowledge that there is only one mind, one heart, one life, and that is the life, the heart, the mind of the divine. It is in us, working through us, as us, right here and right now. There is nothing else but this divine energy that at its highest level is the energy of love. So I know for each one of us that we allow ourselves to take whatever limits we had off that energy, off the divine. Our God is much bigger than we could possibly ever imagine. And so we allow ourselves to expand our parentheses in eternity and know the truth. Everything is God. This too is God. Everything in our lives is God. And it's responding to the predominant energy in the universe. So I choose right now for myself, and perhaps you might as well. As I speak this word in the first person, I choose to elevate my consciousness. No longer do I gossip or complain or express feelings that take me to a lower level of energy. I let myself know the truth. Who I am is a unique, individualized expression of the One. And whatever fears come up for myself as I walk my daily path, I let myself face those and know that this too is God. This too is God. All of it is God. And as I see and make a new claim about my beliefs about God, that life changes to conform to those new beliefs. So I declare that God is compassionate, loving, kind. God is generous. God is all that I could possibly want my God to be. That means that I am all that is possible, all that I might want myself to be, because all there is God. And how grateful I am to know this. How grateful I am to continually allow myself to elevate my consciousness, because I know that my consciousness is affecting the universe. My consciousness is affecting the world. And so as I rise up in love, knowing the highest truth for absolutely everyone and everything. And this week, perhaps I allow myself to go through my daily experiences thinking, this too is God. And as Emma Curtis Hopkins says, She says, this too is God, this too is good, this too is for me. So I let my life be one of good, and I am grateful, so grateful for absolutely everything that I'm embodying as I study, as I treat, as I meditate, and know the truth. All there is this wonderful divine energy that is both love and law, that works for me by working through me as me. So I release these words into this law, knowing that in some way today, each one of us has received a kernel that helps us move further along our spiritual path, helps all of us together as a community rise up in consciousness. The consciousness of divine peace, divine love, divine compassion. And this is good. This is God. And so it is. So this morning, our music